Well, good morning. Happy Monday. That's right. We celebrate Mondays here on the Pondering Radio Show. Here I am. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Up on another week of adventure. A thrill a minute. That's right. And it is great and wonderful to have you with us. Welcome to Pondering, the show where we ponder all things. We think them through. We talk about them. We do not accept at face value what we hear in the media and see and so forth in the media. We talk about it. We think about it. We consider it. We analyze it. And we do this from an unabashedly, unashamedly, and yes, unapologetically Christian perspective every weekday morning from 7:30 to 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it is June 8th, 2020. We're glad that you're here, and we want you to participate like Susie is already. Good morning, Susie and Jim. And I know I probably missed some people, but listen, you can participate and type into the live stream here on the Pondering Radio page of Facebook as we live stream at this hour. If you're listening via podcast on multiple venues, then listen, I would welcome you to participate as well. You can post on that same page, the Pondering Radio page, 24/7, 365. And so please do. You can also email us at, ponderingradio@gmail.com, ponderingradio@gmail.com. You can also call 860-500-7163, and, you can be included that way. We'll listen to your message, even if we're, not here to get it when you call. We will check it out and maybe even play it on the air. So please do that, 860-500-7163. And there's just so many ways. You can hire a skywriter, singing telegram, whatever it is. We would love to hear from you on the Pondering Radio Show. Jennifer, good morning to you, my dear. Hope you had a good weekend, lots of rest. Good morning, Pastor Jim. I think I said good morning to you, but anyway, good morning again. And Susie, as always, faithful, with 3 cups of coffee, ready to rock and roll. Speaking of Susie, tonight, Susie and I will be hosting another Bible study online. We'll soon be gathering in person, probably next week. I'm thinking we probably can start doing that. For those that want to at her place, but tonight we'll do a Zoom meeting, and we'll always have Zoom available. So if you are living in East Jabip, Arkansas, or on the other side of the planet, and you want to join in on the Monday night study of 2 Corinthians, you can do so. How, you ask? Well, it's easy. Send an email to joel@lifewaych.com. joel@lifewaych.com, and I will send you a link. You just, 7 o'clock tonight, you click the link, boom, there you go, you're in. And if you don't have a smartphone, or you're not real computer savvy, or maybe you don't have a laptop, you can still call in. And we can give you that number too, so that you can dial in and listen and participate that way. I say listen, you can actually talk too, because it's a two-way deal with Zoom. And so that is always an option for you. All right. So, yeah, there you go. Jim says double blessing. Thank you. Right back at you, my brother. So I hope you had a good weekend. Had a good weekend with Lifeway Church. Got some things done this weekend. By the way, if you're interested in finding out more about our sponsor, Lifeway Church, lifewaych.com is the website. And we are and have been this weekend especially announcing and working on plans to reopen the building. Church never closed, but the building did. And we're back on track now to reopen. We'll still have our online services, 9:30 to 11:15 a.m. every Sunday. And you can still access those at lifewaych.com or at the Lifeway Church Facebook page. However, starting next week, we're going to bring our teams together, our leadership team, to prepare and plan and practice what we're going to do to open on the 21st of June for everybody. And we ask that people register for one of the 2 services on the 21st if they plan to come in person. We'll still have the live stream broadcast, etc. But for those that want to venture out and come back into fellowship with a group in the building, we will do that on the 21st. 2 services. We just want to register so we know how many, because we are trying to take precautions in line with the governor's recommendations. terms of space between people who are seated, cleaning regimens and protocols, social distancing. We'll wear a mask, but during the service, as people are sitting more than 6 feet apart, they can certainly take off the mask if they're more comfortable. I will. I can't stand those things. I wear them because I have to, when I have to, and as soon as I get away from people, I take them off because I can't breathe, And sometimes it's asphyxiation or COVID-19. Which one do I want to choose today? So I yeah, I would hope that some of you would feel comfortable coming, and that is certainly something we would be thrilled is to have you with us. And if you don't have a church already, now if you have a church already, Pastor Jim's not coming. I mean, he has visited, but he's got his own church, so he's not. We're not trying to recruit, but if you don't have a church home, or you just want to watch our service on top of your service that you're participating in, maybe on Sunday, hey, we welcome that. God bless you. So, yeah, good weekend there in terms of planning, meetings, getting ourselves together for this reopening of the building. And there's more information about that at the Lifeway Church Facebook page, as well as the Lifeway Church website. So if you want to find out more, you can. But good stuff there. Had some time to relax. Actually went to the beach yesterday afternoon. I post something called Ministry Minute, and some of you may have seen it. If you haven't, you can find Ministry Minute on my personal Facebook page. You can sometimes find it on the Pondering Radio page too. I post there occasionally. And it's literally 60-second long little mini devotional. And as I'm sitting at the beach yesterday, I'm just thinking about Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And how the Bible just, matter of fact, says he is the source. He is the first cause, not a mindless speck of energy and matter that blew up, but no, an intelligent being we know is God. It's funny how people who will deny the existence of God will embrace the Big Bang Theory and talk about the universe having spiritual influence in their life. They'll talk about the will of the universe or the will of creation. So what they're doing is giving the universe itself intelligence. But they can't seem to bring themselves to do that with the God who created the universe. The spiritist's logic sometimes goes, it's not consistent. But when I'm staring out the ocean, and here's what I really noticed too, as I'm looking out at up and down the beach, I'm watching everybody else stare at the ocean. And I'm thinking about how some of them, no doubt, have questions or maybe don't believe in God. But they know there's something about creation. As you stare out at the ocean, you feel this spiritual sense of humility and awe. There's something about it. And the Bible says that the heavens declare the glory of God. And so I was talking about how the beach does too, and how we should think about those things. But anyway, if you're interested in Ministry Minute, check out the Joel Rissinger Facebook page. Especially, we put it in other places too, but they really are 1 minute long. So, people think they're often too busy to watch it. They scan over it. It's 60 seconds, sometimes 62, maybe, or 63 seconds. But no more than that, because I'm watching the timer as I'm doing it. All right, Susie says, woohoo! I'm so excited about church being open, but I have to remember to wear real clothes. Yeah, she was challenged to show up in her jammies the first week. We will not turn anyone away at Lifeway Church, who comes and maybe didn't register, because we're going to have guests and we have seats for them. We've already planned that. But if somebody shows up in their jammies, like Susie in particular, sorry, babe, we're sending you. No jammies. Oh, gosh. All right. So last week, somebody had asked me about Obamagate and whether I was going to cover that. And I said yes, and I think we should get into that a little bit today, because it's been buried, and it probably, sadly, maybe I'm jaded, it probably will stay buried. Not just because of the current crisis of COVID-19 or the current crisis of the Black Lives Matter response to the, and not just Black Lives Matter, probably not even primarily, but the Antifa and some of these other groups, the rioters responding to the death of Mr. Floyd and all that, and all the coverage of the riots and the protest marches and everything else. Yes, that's taking over the news cycle. Every newspaper, every news broadcast, those things dominate. So this has been backburnered, and it's just sort of under the surface, and you have to dig deep to find anything on it in the news or online. You can hear about it on conservative radio talk shows, and I would recommend checking those out. Sean Hannity does a great job, by the way, of going through facts and details and history on this. And he has been, give credit where credit is due, he has been consistent in his presentation and coverage of the coup d'etat, the attempted coup to get rid of President Trump before he was even elected, before he was even sworn in. Sean Hannity, probably more than anyone else, has covered it. So if you ever check him out, you can Google him, Sean Hannity, Hanity, is it Hannity? And you'll get access to his broadcast. You can listen live on the radio, on the even on the internet if you want. But he has done a great job in covering it. Still is. Rush Limbaugh, to some degree, has as well, as have other conservative commentators locally and near and far. But most folks don't listen to those guys, so they're not going to hear that. And if they read the paper or watch the television news, they'll never hear about it unless they go to the back page right next to the ads for meat at the local supermarket, or the classifieds. They might find it stuck in one of the under a classified ad or something. Otherwise, it isn't going to get a lot of coverage. But what is it? Well, it's again, Obamagate is this idea that President Obama and his team, before President Trump was even, in fact, honestly, before he was even the nominee officially on the Republican side, and certainly after that, and before his election, and then after his election, right up until his inauguration, and then after his inauguration, there were different plans that phased in, different responses that phased in each case, but the ultimate objective was to get rid of him, and still is. And so people have heard that in the past, and it's been said and speculated on quite a bit in the last 3 years, but people say, it's a conspiracy theory, it's craziness, it's not true. Well, evidence that's come out recently in congressional hearings has proven that, yes, in fact, it is true. And Sean Hannity's been riding that high. I heard him last week once, and he was saying, we've been saying this. We've been telling you this for 3 to 4 years now, guys. This is not news. Shouldn't be news, but it is news because most people weren't paying attention. The facts are that, in fact, the president and those who serve him did try to get rid of and undo the presidency of Donald Trump, to try to overturn a duly elected, I should say, overturn the results of a fair election and a constitutional election. And there are many details, many players involved. The term Obamagate refers to the conspiracy, basically, to do this and to create evidence to illegally wiretap and bug, technically it's not a wiretap, but to bug the president's campaign headquarters, President Trump, to create a fake dossier of things that he supposedly did in collusion with the Russians, which later the people who created it and the people who presented it have admitted that it was not true. Under oath, they've had to admit these things. There have been release of people that were imprisoned unfairly, people that had worked with the president who were imprisoned, to put pressure on them to make up something, to say something that would indict the president. All of that's failed, and now the truth has come out on how these people were prosecuted and arrested and jailed, and they've been, at least one or two have been let go. And again, all this stuff has kind of been swept under the rug, but it is out there. And I think it's important for us to recognize this, not so that we can go back and, arrest President Obama or his, attorney general or anybody in his staff, his team, people in the Justice Department, people in the FBI. I mean, I would love to see justice served in some of those because what they did was just pure evil. But I'm not naive enough to think that's going to happen. I just think it's good that it comes out, and so that hopefully people will think twice before trying that again. Will it mean that President Trump gets reelected? No, because again, this isn't going to get a lot of coverage. A lot of people aren't going to be aware of it. However, maybe it will mean that somebody down the road won't try it because they know they could get caught. And that's really what's happening here. They've been caught. So President Trump has coined the phrase Obamagate. And I want to read to you something here real quick. I'll get you the source. Where is this? This is CGTN.com news. It's the title of the article is "What is Obamagate?" I don't have the author of the article here, but that's okay. I think that's enough credit. It says, "What is Obamagate?" The word itself is a play on the Watergate scandal, obviously, which ended with former President Nixon resigning after his administration was caught trying to cover up a failed break-in of the Democratic National Committee headquarters in 1972. The latest gate trend, skipping down here, when Trump first tweeted Obamagate, then retweeted Buck Sexton, a conservative commentator who claimed the outgoing president used his last weeks in office to target incoming officials and sabotage the new Trump administration. Trump's retweets from that day suggest that Obamagate, or seem to suggest, I would say, does it suggest, that Obamagate refers to the FBI's investigation into Russian interference during the 2016 presidential election. But at this time, it would be more than that. Multiple U.S. intelligence investigations and a bipartisan U.S. Senate Intelligence Committee report released in April all concluded that Russia acted to undercut President Trump's rival, Hillary Clinton's chances in the election, et cetera, et cetera. And they say that Russia denies any interference. Michael Flynn, Trump's first national security advisor, held office for 24 days before resigning for misleading the FBI and misleading Mike Pence. He pled guilty to charges. He lied to the FBI, etc. And, it goes on. And, of course, the article's biased. I want to just make that clear, against the idea of Obamagate, but they're giving you a definition, which is good, of what it is. In other words, trying to get Flynn not just fired, but arrested and jailed, trying to put pressure on him to get him to say something about Russian collusion, etc., and many others involved. This is in total what's meant by the term Obamagate. And here's what's come out. There was no evidence of Russian collusion. That's why the whole process died and stalled. There was later then an accusation of Ukrainian, the president working with the Ukraine and trying to collude, I guess, with them as well. And they wanted to impeach him over that. That fell apart and impeachment didn't happen. And evidence against other people like Michael Flynn and stuff has collapsed. And so many of these folks have been, released, as I mentioned. What's been perhaps most damning in terms of the Obama administration is the idea that right after President Trump's election, before the inauguration, there was a meeting at the White House where a dossier, including accusations that President Trump had been in Russia and paid prostitutes to do some pretty disgusting things, and just to basically insult Obama where he had on the bed where he had slept and all this other stuff, and that he was working with the Russian government to undermine Hillary's chances. That dossier was discussed, and the decision was made to present it, share the idea behind it, at least with President Trump, and so that he would technically have been made aware, and then they released it to the press. And when they released it to the press, they also had taken it to a FISA court to get permission to bug the president's campaign headquarters and to investigate other people in his administration to be the people in his campaign. Well, the whole thing was bogus. They knew it was bogus. The company that prepared it was hired by the Hillary Clinton Foundation. We know that because of the financial paper trail. And the rest is history. For 3 years, we had this massive investigation, and we had impeachment trials, and people were being thrown in jail for anything from tax fraud to misleading the FBI to whatever. And it all fell apart. Adam Schiff, as you know, was discredited for lying himself, claimed he had a whistleblower and claimed he had evidence of all this collusion, and it turned out he had nothing. And you know the rest of the story. So the point of all this is there was an attempt to undo an election. And that's not just my opinion. That's pretty much come out as fact now. So what do we do about it? Well, probably nothing. And that's the sad truth. I would love to think there would be indictments. I'd love to think there would be justice for some of this. I would love to think they'd back off now, let the president do his job. And if he gets reelected, he'd have 4 years to really do some good stuff in terms of policy. But the reality is that probably isn't true. But as I said earlier, my hope is that the evidence that's come out about this, the real collusion with Russia, the real collusion with Ukraine, would end up making people think twice. It's ironic that Hillary paid Russian operatives to create this fake dossier, and yet President Trump was accused of colluding with Russia. It's ironic that Joe Biden pulled strings, get his son a job paying $100,000 a month or some crazy thing in Ukraine, and to interfere with Ukrainian policy and Ukrainian decisions, government decisions. Yet the president, now President Trump, was accused of colluding with Ukraine and working with Ukraine and so forth. It's sort of like, well, we're going to do it, but we're going to make it look like it's you. We're going to sin, but we're going to blame you. And that really should be known. I hope will become more known, and it should make people in government, in power, think twice. Am I saying Donald Trump is perfect? No, by no means. There are a lot of things about him that I would, his behavior, I would change. If I was his pastor, I'd want to work with him on. But his policies are right on the money, and they've worked. And so to try to get rid of him because they don't like his policies, because they don't want conservatism, and do so illegally and in collusion with foreign governments to put heat on and pressure people who were either innocent or who had committed minor crimes, and we lock them up for 15 years or so, just to get him to try to get him to say something against the president. That's just wrong. It's evil. And hopefully it's coming out to some degree, and again, you have to go to certain sources to get more details, like Sean Hannity and others, some of the Fox News people. Hopefully that will prevent people from doing it again. They'll have to think twice before they try it again. So that's my brief overview and thought with regard to Obamagate. Do I believe President Obama gave the order to go ahead and try to undermine the president and get rid of him using this dossier and other tools and, again, put pressure on certain people? Yes, I absolutely do. And part of the reason I do is he's still speaking out and undermining the president, which is really historically unique. I don't know if you realize that. Past presidents typically, remain silent with regard to decisions and actions taken by sitting presidents. But even just last week, President Obama came out speaking on the riots and the unrest and the excuse me, George Flynn case, and basically said, hey, yeah, you need to make these leaders uncomfortable. Go, guys, come on. Subtly, very carefully wordsmithed speech to basically say to everybody, yeah, give it to them. And that is not only bad for the country in terms of riots and outcome and potential loss of life and harm, it's also a breach of protocol sort of a honor code among former presidents that you don't undermine a current president's decisions and actions and so forth. President Trump has been outspoken against the riots and trying to get even law enforcement, if necessary, even the military involved to clear the streets and protect the innocent, in particular shop owners and people police who've been murdered in the street. And he said, enough already. You governors either pull in the National Guard and straighten this out, or I'll send in the Army if I have to. And in response to that, President Obama is basically looking at the rioters and going, and that in itself tells you the posture that he's been in since President Trump was even the nominee of the Republican Party prior to the last election. And I think that speaks for itself. So hopefully, while I don't expect indictments, while I don't expect anything legally to happen, I hope at least some people will pay enough attention to this such that future leaders will think twice before they try a coup, which is really what this was, to get rid of a sitting president, duly elected sitting president, with by false means and pretense, etc. I just hope it doesn't happen again, but we shall see. So that's my brief coverage and thought on Obamagate. Rest of the week, hey, got a lot going on, so we'll have a lot to talk about, I'm sure. There's a lot in the news. We'll probably, unfortunately, have to cover some more with regard to the riots and the protests and kind of the response to those. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about what our response should be as Christians. I don't know that we've covered that completely, so we'll look at that. If you have people you'd like us to interview, topics you'd love us to dive into, please let us know. Again, you can type into the live stream, you can post on our page, you can email ponderingradio@gmail.com, or you can call 860-500-7163. And we would love to hear from you, and we'll take your thoughts and encouragement seriously. And again, for those of you that might want to join us tonight for the Bible study online, send a note to Joel at lifewaych.com. We'll make sure we get you that link. So at 7 o'clock, you can click and participate. I was going to say something else to you, and I just had a mental blip. As I get older, that happens more and more. Who am I, and why are we here? Oh, yes. Pondering. I do want to say one thing quickly about our Christian response to the riots, and maybe we'll dig into that more tomorrow because I only got about 2 minutes here. But our Christian response has to be Christian, and by that I mean two things. One, it has to be loving. It has to be based on grace and truth. And I guess number two is the truth element of it. I don't think personally that we do anyone any favors. I don't think we help solve the problem by speaking things that aren't true just to go along with the crowd, so to speak, to appease the masses, the culture, the media, whoever it might be. In other words, I am very careful not to say things that suggest that I believe or agree that policemen are racist and that their whole motivation is to just, beat up people of color. I don't think that's true. I'm sure there's some who are, just like in the entire population. You name a population, and you can find a small percentage of people who are, violent, racist, bigot, evil people who will do harm, I'm sure. And I'm sure that's true, therefore, in the military. I'm sure that's true, therefore, in the police force, etc. But do I believe that 99% of the policemen who don the uniform are racists who want to hurt people of color? No, I don't believe it. And so I'm careful to say things that would suggest agreement with that. And I don't think as Christians and as churches, saying things that seem to support that idea is helpful. On the other hand, I think we need to be sensitive to the fear that people do feel, and the fact that many people do believe that, and they've been told that by the media, by culture, by the leaders in the black community, for example, like Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, people like that for decades have said these things. And so we have to be sensitive to the reality that they do believe it. They're afraid, and we need to be helping assuage that fear where we can. I think we as Christians should be in prayer. I think we should encourage prayer, just like I mentioned in Hartford when the riot broke out on 84 there, not riot, but the protest. And it stayed peaceful. So that's why I won't call it a riot. As soon as it goes to brick throwing, flames and bullets and knives being used to slash policemen, it's no longer a peaceful protest. I'm sorry. It is a riot. But that was not a riot. And part of the reason was prayer. And I think we should be doing that. So I think we speak the truth in love, as Paul said to the church at Ephesus. We have to speak the truth, not go along with false paradigms, not promote them. But at the same time, we do so in love, with grace, with peace, and with desire for reconciliation and healing. We acknowledge evil, like when these officers did in killing this man. It was evil. They need to be punished, absolutely. But we don't acknowledge that means that all cops are racist and hate, African Americans and want to kill them. That's not going to help us. It's only going to make matters worse, make people more angry, more scared, more violent. And we don't need to go there. So that's a quick summary. Maybe we'll get into more of that tomorrow. We'll see. God bless you guys. Hey, tell your friends, neighbors, and complete strangers about Pondering every weekday at 7:30 right here on the Pondering Radio page of Facebook. Hope you guys have a great day. Stay in the Word. Keep praying. Keep pondering. We'll see you mañana. Bye for now.